Hey there friends, Bobby here today. Hey folks, I want to make a little video here on doing a timing belt on a 4-cylinder Honda, okay? And this video, actually we're working on an 01 model Honda Prelude, dual overhead cam engine. I've already taken the covers and everything off of this vehicle. I'm not really going to go step by step because the biggest point I want to make with this video is getting the belt marked properly before removal and also getting it put back on correctly. And so the stuff you'll learn from this video will actually carry on to any other timing belt that you may do. Okay, but I will briefly, for the folks that are watching it that may be doing a Honda, I'll kind of briefly tell you what I've already taken apart. The power steering pump was right in this area. It's actually laid back right over here. Go ahead and unbolt the power steering pump, move it out of the way. Take the drive belts off. You do have an upper cover that you can remove. It's just 2 bolts that holds it on. That access most of the stuff from the top. Now you have a lower cover here that's laying right here. This bolt here in the corner on this particular model is very aggravating to get to. I had to get a short cut-off wrench and go from underneath to actually get that one out with the engine lowered down. You have a mount here that needs to be removed. You have a crank pulley that requires a special tool to hold the inside of this while you actually take the crank bolt loose. So that's just some of the things that I've went through so far. But like I was saying, this video is mainly just on doing just a timing belt, depending on whatever kind of car you're working on. Now, I've already got the engine on top dead center. And on a Honda, of course, these arrows right here are pointing straight up. That tells me I'm on number 1, top dead center. And you want to get an engine in that position before you ever remove the belt. Check to see where all your marks are. And I like to take white out and go ahead and make my own marks here and there because I'm old and blind and it helps me out a little bit better. So what I'll do is I'll probably paint me a mark, between these 2 gears that I can see really good. I'll come up here on top and I'll make a mark, maybe on one of these teeth here, and then go down here on the head and make me a mark. I like to make plenty of marks on everything that needs to be timed, and that actually goes for underneath here too. We do have a counter shaft on this belt, on this engine. I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute, but I'll make marks down here for everything that I take loose. Okay, now let's go over here to the whiteboard and I'll show you on this particular engine what we are looking at here. Okay, I kind of mapped it out, as you can see, and we have 2 cam gears, and we got the arrows pointing up. There's slash marks in the cam gears, get them lined up straight, and down here we have the blue represents the actual timing belt and the red represents the counter shaft belt. Okay, so we have 2 belts on this engine that we got to get lined up. These balance shafts need to be lined up correctly. Make sure you mark them. Make sure you mark your crank. You got a bigger gear that runs the counter shaft that you need to mark when you take it off, and then behind it you have a crank pulley that you need to mark also. Okay, so keep everything lined up so you'll know how to put it back together. And what's tricky about these older Honda engines is this one tensioner, there's a lock bolt that holds it down, and when you get everything put back together, you will have to get tension correct on both of these belts at one time and lock that bolt down. And for those of you actually working on one of these Hondas, I will show you how to do that properly when we get to that point. So friends, stay tuned and we'll get this job done. We've already got our timing belt and our balancer and balancing belt off, folks, but what I wanted to show you is here. You see the marks that I made right here? I made my own paint marks, like to line up right here. I put one right here on the back of the skier, and it actually lines up with one on the cylinder head, so I can hold the camera correctly. So you can see how it lines up with that mark right there. So we went around here, and let's go down low. Let's see if I can show you something down here. Yeah, you can actually see my paint marks right here on the crank pulley. Made my own mark here, made my own mark right there. Right here on my balance shaft, and I transferred it down here on the head of this bolt. So that's the kind of marking that I was talking about. Make sure you do. We're actually changing out cam seals on this engine here. I did want to backtrack for a minute. If you are going to change your cam seals, before you take the belt off, and I had already done this earlier, take your impact and break these bolts loose, okay? With the belt still in place, and actually put your hand on the belt and hold the tension just to break that loose. And we broke both of them loose, and now we can spin them out, replace our cam seals, tighten them back down, and we'll actually put Loctite on them, and we'll hold the pulley and torque that down properly. And folks, that's about it. I'm letting the coolant drain right now while because I'm going to change the water pump out, and then we'll get the water pump, and we've got new tensioner pulleys that we're going to replace, and these cam seals, and we'll be ready to start putting this belt back on. Oh, and I did want to tell you, earlier I told you when we were over here at the diagram that this one bolt held the tension on both belts. Okay, this particular engine, there were some Hondas that were made that way, but this one actually has a little tensioner over here that actually tensions the main belt, and then there's another little spring that's in an arm that actually holds the tension on this one. So this should be a little bit easier than the older ones. So I won't really go into great detail on those, but they were a little tricky, but not sure what year, maybe early to mid 90 vehicles they had those on there. Then they switched to this. So stay tuned, friends, and we'll continue. Now, friends, we got the new timing belt put in place. We've already got our cam seals, water pump, new tensioner pulley, and our other pulley. Actually, we still haven't put it on yet, the one that runs the countershaft belt. But I just wanted to go ahead and show you, we do have the belt in place. We've got all the slack out on the driving side between the cam and the crank down there. And it looks like our marks here are looking pretty close. We're on the right tooth on each one. We'll take a quick look right over here. That's looking good. Down below on our crank, I don't know if you can see that, but we definitely, our two little white marks are right in place. And we're getting ready to install this little tensioner actuator. We went ahead and picked up a brand new one today. We're going to bolt it down and then pull this gold looking piece of metal, which is like the holder that holds this thing in place. And as soon as it's bolted in place, we'll pull that off. This inside here will pop out up against the tensioner idler down there, and it'll put the proper amount of tension on the new folks, hey, we're wrapping this video up now. We have actually got both our belts on. Timing belt's on. Countershaft belt is on. We've got the tension set correctly on both of them. And we have rotated the engine around 1 revolution clockwise to make sure we've taken up all the slack in the belt. And we've double checked all of our marks, and they're all looking really good. As you can see, down here on our balance shaft, that's lined up. Down here on our crankshaft, remember the big pulley, we actually made a mark on it too. So friends, we're all set to go. And I just want to leave you with one more thought. If you take on a timing belt job, okay, make sure you mark all these marks. Make sure you know for sure before you crank that engine that you put your timing belt on correctly. I've worked with mechanics that will, from this point right here, they might throw a valve cover on and like crank it up right quick. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you got to know, you have to really know. There shouldn't be any second guessing. I mean, you needed to know that from this point you could put everything back together and it's going to run. And that's just the way I've always felt about timing belts and stuff, because if you get one tooth off, it's not going to run properly. It's probably going to kick the check engine light on for a PO300 code. You get it all 2 or 3 teeth, or if it jumps or something like that, you end up bending some valves. So friends, it's very important. If you don't feel confident in doing your own timing belt, please take it to the professional. Okay friends, I'll leave you with that thought, and good luck on your project. Have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.